Hey there folks, it's Michael here. In this tutorial, we're going to go over how to create a realistic graphite pencil drawing look inside of Clip Studio Paint with digital tools. You can see a couple of examples that I've done last year, and I think they're quite convincing. But today we're going to focus on this small Chinese dragon eating takeout food. I hope you're ready. Now, before going further, I'd like to mention how important I believe it is to get the right tools in order to do a convincing job. Over the length of the year, I spent countless hours working on such tools, and I believe that they replicate convincingly the look and feel of traditional graphite pencil. I will be using these tools for the rest of this tutorial, so if you want to follow along, you can go get them on ArtStation, Gumroad, Ko-fi, and Booth. And now, let's get started. Alright, now once you've properly installed the tools, you can go ahead and start your drawing. I usually start with a light sketch or thumbnail just so I can get my head around the idea of what I want to do. So I try to find balance, different shade that I'm going to be using. At this stage, everything is not too precise or too clean. I'm just trying to find what I like and what is not helping the artwork that I'm trying to make. Now, once this is done, I lower the opacity of that layer and start working on a more refined sketch, but it will still be a sketch, not a final line art. So I'm trying to figure out what the head will look like, how the features of the dragon will come forward. I want something that is very sleek and cartoony and fun, so I don't want to have too much details. But now you see I've just drawn the tail, and if you look at the tail, the bowl of rice, and the head of the dragon, they all share a same size relationship. And the focus of the piece will not be, in this sketch at least, directed entirely to the bowl of rice. And so I thought to myself, okay, now let's fix this. But once you fix something in an area, it's most likely going to have a ripple effect, and you will need to balance out the rest of your drawing so that the emotion, the message, and the symbols that you want to convey in your drawing all work together. Now, you see I've made a small mistake here with the feet. They were facing towards us, but they should actually be facing away from us for a good rendition of the depth of the image. So I've just fixed that right there, and we're getting pretty close. So fixing the tail once more, because the balance was thrown off when I replaced the position of the tail, and now that seems to be taken care of. And all this time I worked on a gradient, under a gradient layer, which allows me to use a non-photo blue pencil like effect, where you would see blue indigo, and you could get rid of it easily once you scan your real traditional medium. So now I lower the opacity and I start using a real graphite pencil and do the real drawing actually. So this is going to be the first pass for the line art. It doesn't need to be so precise or very define everything perfectly. Like, this is not meant to be a final line art, and you will see why in a couple of minutes. But I'm just hinting and defining the areas. It's a block out basically for me to create some limits of where the values are going to go and how it's going to end, and make sure that I understand and see all the forms and the shapes that are going to define this drawing. So I'm adding a bit of props here and there just to make the scene even more funny. I'm cross-hatching there just so that I can get the scales of the dragon in a good proportions. So I'm adding scales here and there. And I thought of adding a Chinese knot, but you will see later that I'm getting rid of this. Now I've switched to the chamois brush to add a shade of gray all over. And once this is done, I just wipe everything with the finger smudge brush so that everything blends together. And now that I have a dirty page, I'm a lot less scared of making mistakes or just painting on top of my drawing. I don't want everything to be so pristine and precious that I'm scared to work on it. So having smudged and gray stuff all over really helps me get in the flow, and it helps me also build my value because I'm starting with the neutral gray value. And then from this point on, I can build up the blacks and the whites more easily. So yeah, defining the main shadows and everything. And once this is done, once again, I wipe everything out with the finger smudge just so that it unifies the whole picture, sorry. And now I'm removing all of that excess dirt so that I get a clear read of what I'll be playing with for the rest of the drawing session. All right, so adding some whites in the areas where I don't need grays. And then I blend it all over again. This might sound stupid, but I really like this process because every time it gets me closer to the end goal, and also it helps the texture becomes a bit smoother. And I really like that smooth look of the old master, I would say, when they were drawing artwork for movies, concept art. They would all do that on vellum paper, and it has a very, very soft grain. So I really came to like this look, and I wanted to emulate it as best as I can. So depending on the volume that I want to shade now, I will be using either the chamois brush or the traditional HB pencil. Most of the time I will lay down my value on another layer and then gently wipe it, blur it with the smudge tool, finger smudge. And once I'm happy with it, I'll collapse the layer I've just added on top of everything so that I remain with as less layer as possible. I don't want to use too much layer. I want this to retain the mentality of working traditionally with only one layer basically, or two if you have a light box under your paper, and you can superimpose drawings. So at this point, I'm just working on my darkest dark, adding some black, defining the line art. You see, no detail has been added yet. It's all about defining the values. But now that all the values and the shape really read well, I can go on and add some line art, some darker shadow, some drop shadow, the scales and everything. It's all coming along very well now. And we're getting really close to the end. So I'm erasing all that I feel doesn't work. I'm making some corrections here and there, adding some dark. So whenever I do that, I tend to squint a lot just so that I make sure that everything reads. When you squint, you get to understand a lot more the structure of your drawing. So I'll be erasing parts of the tail here just so that we get a better reading of what's in front of the tail. So the main body is in front of the tail, and I wanted to emphasize that depth. I'm adding the shadows here, really getting close to a finish, actually. Now I'll be adding the remaining elements such as the writing. And once this is done, I'm gonna merge everything together, do a small value correction. So I'm gonna use probably a curve or a level modification. And once this is done, I blur the image just a tiny bit, and I add a paper texture behind it so that it really conveys the traditional pencil look. And there you have it, folks. I hope you like this tutorial, and thank you for watching.